Don't talk. Hi, everyone. It's time for Live with MainStreet. It's Jim Ludwig and
Anna Sergunina. Hi, Jim. Hi, everyone.
You know, Anna, today is the early October, but there's a topic that's going to be on everybody's top of mind awareness if they're employed with an employer that has benefits. And what is that called?
Oh, Jim, good question. I think I know the answer. It's called open enrollment season. That's the topic of our discussion today. So I think it's also good to, even if you're not employed with an employer, right? And I think it's also a good time of the year to pause and consider what some of the benefits that you should probably have. Or maybe you already have some and need to change them. So I think it's applicable to everybody. Wouldn't you agree? Not necessarily.
I do, and we'll also be mentioning some benefits that you can change outside of open enrollment if something in your life changes.
Yes, totally. Okay, well, so then let's do this. Let's go down the list of most typical packages or set of benefits that you would see provided by the employer, and just discuss what's normally would be should be on somebody's mind and during this time, and what should they be thinking about and changing and so forth. So let's start with the most typical ones, which are health insurance, dental insurance, and vision. What do we need to know there? What are some of the tips that we have?
Well, one of the things that we have to do is see how the benefits changed from last year. The healthcare marketplace is in flux right now because of what's going on in Washington or what's not going on. And also, employers are looking to save costs because healthcare, vision, and dental costs are going up higher than normal inflation. So you've got to look very carefully at those benefits. And many times, talking to your colleagues in the company can help you make a better informed decision.
I want to also add that I think it's also prudent to think about utilization. So are you really using health insurance, current health insurance plan to the best that you can, or perhaps maybe next year you don't need to have, or you need to have a different health plan because you anticipate some medical expenses. So I think it's from the utilization standpoint, maybe you don't have the need for vision plan, but it's provided or paid for by your employer. So consider those things. When you have to pay for it, you definitely need to be cognizant of those dollars that you're spending. When it's provided to you, sure, take advantage of it. But I also, something also that kind of goes really handy with those three things, health insurance, dental, and vision, are what we call flexible spending accounts and health savings accounts. So what are some thoughts and tips we have about those?
Well, there's a lot of articles being written lately. In fact, I just tweeted one this morning that came out from Vanguard, the mutual fund company, and it's pointing out that putting the money away pre-tax and then paying for co-pays and deductibles and other healthcare expenses with pre-tax money is a good deal, and also saving that money long-term and into retirement can have even a bigger benefit. But there's one caveat. To have a health savings account and make contributions, you need a high deductible health plan. For individuals and families, that means that you're subject to large out-of-pocket expenses before you reach your deductible limit, and therefore that causes people to pause and say, should I expose myself to more risk of a larger payout, or can I afford, with my emergency fund, for example, to pay for those copays and deductibles and put something into a long-term strategy using a health savings account for long-term savings? It's really an individual decision.
I agree. Well, one thing to consider and remember that unlike health savings accounts, flexible savings accounts have a limitation of how much money you can actually carry forward from year to year. So it's almost like use it or lose it. So I think the last year, 2017, maybe they were going to change it, up it up a little bit for 2018, but the most you can carry forward was $500. So if you think that you're going to not use all the monies that you're contributing into this account, perhaps you need to reconsider that for next year. So just like I was mentioning, utilization of the health insurance, dental, and vision, it's the same thing with these special type of accounts that allow you to do to defer some dollars pre-tax. So,
well, flexible spending accounts, the use it or use it feature has changed over the years, and most plans now will let you spend it up into the first or middle of March in the following year versus 10 years ago, you had to always spend it by December 31st. So there's less lines at medical practitioners on December 31st than there used to be.
Yes, and one other feature of the health saving, the HSA, that there are two types. There are one that's covering health expenditures, right? Anything related to medical expenses, but there's one that could be utilized for dependent care. So for those of you who have children or anticipate having children next year, maybe that would be something to consider, because that's 5,000. You can do 5,000 pre-tax into the HSA, and that could be used to pay for daycare or any I guess daycare, babysitters, all those types of expenses. So remember that, because their kids come at a cost, as I was told.
Thank you, Anna. Always glad to hear that firsthand information.
I know, right?
We have today.
There isn't anything unusual I just mentioned. I'm sure people know that. Okay, all right. So I think we've covered most typical ones. Now, let's talk about two other types of benefits that are most common in these enrollment packages, but we as advisors see people not having enough of those. You care to guess, Jim? What are those?
Well, it's because we are always talking about estate planning with our clients, and many firms offer a legal service plan that you can sign up with during open enrollment.
You guessed the question wrong, but that's one of them. All right, talk about, I was going for disability and life insurance, but let's, yes, estate plan is also lacking for many people, so I'll give you half a credit. All right, talk about legal plan. That's a newer benefit. I've been seeing a lot more of that with my clients. So what do we know about that? Why do we like it? Why do we want people to consider that?
Well, for many of our clients who are just normal, married with maybe a child or two in a house, a simple will, durable power of attorney, advanced healthcare directive, living will is a benefit that you can get either free or at a much reduced cost if you have enrolled in a legal services plan through your employer. So we're always looking to help people save money, and that's one of the ways they can save it. A typical estate plan might be from $1,200 to $2,500 for many of our clients. So that health saving, that legal savings, legal enrollment is certainly worthwhile.
Yeah, and there's other legal issues that these plans also help cover. So it's neat to look at what's available to you with that. And so let's circle back to the two ones that I wanted to cover for us as well, is the disability and life insurance. I thought you would get the question right, but that's okay. So this is a good time of the year also, or during open enrollment, because, well, let's also comment on this, Jim, as well, that not every company has an open enrollment in the fall, right? Some companies have it at other times of the year. So what we're talking about here today would apply to those as well. So it's not just fall. It really just depends when your company has an open enrollment period.
And when we talk about life insurance and disability insurance, now that I know the answers to the question,
Yes.
Sometimes you can add additional coverage without health inspection or examination, and sometimes you can't. So, for example, for federal employees, every few years they have an open enrollment to add more life insurance, but it's not an annual benefit that they can increase just automatically. The disability coverage for most employees is kind of an annual option, but there are limits, and there are usually a few questions people have to answer because the insurance companies are trying to prevent fraud. So it's not just an automatic, if I want to increase my life insurance or my disability insurance, I just check the block and they'll start taking the money out of my paycheck. There usually are a couple of questions you have to answer because the insurance companies don't want to take on too much risk.
Right. And I also wanted to add this to what Jim just said, additional coverage. So yes, there are standard set of benefits that most likely you'll be eligible as an employee of a company. It might be a paid for benefit, or you could, or it's the benefit that you actually paying yourself for. But also remember that you may be able to get supplemental coverage. And a lot of times what Jim was talking about, maybe you need to do a medical exam, maybe you don't. So this is a good time of the year to consider those options. And those are the two ones that consistently most people who come through our doors don't have enough. So we tend to recommend more coverage almost all the time. All right. A lot of companies these days offer what I would call exotic benefits, right? They're beyond your normal health, vision, dental, boring kind of stuff benefits. So, and that's fine because talent is hard to get these days. And to retain the best talent, companies have to come up with a lot of interesting programs. That goes for having pet insurance, some kind of a wellness program. Financial planning also is starting to circle in these options because people are in need of advice. So as far as particular advice to it for this, gym membership, this is another one. This is a big one. So I think it kind of goes with the wellness. But think about how are you going to use it? These benefits are nice to have. If you have to pay for them, consider or think about what next year may bring. Maybe you need to consider financial planning as a benefit because you have some questions, or perhaps you're due for a gym membership and it's something that your employer provides. Then you need to see if that's with Yuri's. He does not get whole lot of benefits with his company, Marcus and Millichap, but they do actually subsidize our gym membership cost, which is nice. So, and they give you a list of gyms that you can choose from. They're typically more expensive, but that's okay because they subsidize it. They don't pay 100%. So that could be also an option. And then one last type of a benefit that we need to cover is a retirement plan. Now, that could be changed anytime, right? Enrolled or changed anytime, Jim. Am I correct?
That's correct for most employers, Anna. You can never say absolutely sure all of them. Yes. But that's a common way of entering and exiting and changing is almost any time.
Yes. Okay. So I did have a few clients this year who actually were not enrolled in the plan. So if you're one of those and you just started a job somewhere, please consider doing that because there's lots of benefits why you need to have a retirement plan. Okay. Not just tax deduction, allowing you to deduct some of your income, but it's also a good option to have for future savings. Now, so we had a couple of questions that came from our listeners around this topic of open enrollment. And so what happens with someone, Jim, when they are turning or getting ready to turn 65 and perhaps they're still working and now they're facing this decision and they're getting bombarded with lots of materials in the mail? Well, you need to enroll in Medicare and, here are all these options, but yet there might still be working for an employer and health insurance and dental and vision and maybe even prescription is still provided to them. What advice and suggestions do we have for these individuals?
Well, Anna, in almost all the cases we looked at over the years, staying with your employer health plan was to your advantage from cost and benefit coverage basis. And secondly, the federal law exempts you from having to sign up for Medicare Part B. You can always sign up for A because there's no cost, but Medicare Part B, and avoid paying the premiums and no penalty. People who fail to sign up for Medicare Part B, there's a 10% increase forever each year you delay signing up for Plan B. However, if you're enrolled in an employer plan, there is no penalty. And we've looked at lots of different situations and almost always said, stay with your employer plan. It's to your advantage.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I agree. Now, there was one type of exotic benefit you mentioned to me you wanted to share with our audience. What is it, Jim? It's
a benefit that, according to a Reuters article I read this morning, so if someone wanted to find this article, you would Google telehealth, T-E-L-E-H-E-A-L-T-H, all one word, and then Reuters, and you'll come up with this Reuters article that 96% of health plans, according to this article, offer a remote physician-nurse interaction option, and only 2.6% of people are taking advantage of it. I don't think you need to sign up separately for it. You just have to look and see if telehealth is available. I used a telehealth provider about a year ago when I was traveling and I had a back problem and I really needed some medication. And so there's a number of providers that provide telehealth, and I paid, I think, $99, plus I had to go to my CVS for the prescription. But I used a telehealth benefit just as an individual. But look and see if your health plan offers telehealth. If you can't get a hold of your primary provider in a timely basis and you don't know what to do for urgent care, you know, I was 11 or 12 o'clock at night and I thought all the urgent care providers would be closed. So, and I didn't want to go to the emergency room. It wasn't that critical. So I used a telehealth benefit.
Neat. I'm going to have to check it out. I wonder if, because I have to buy my plan individually, right? It's on my own. I wonder if that would be an option. Probably, right? If I pay them a fee, why wouldn't they provide a service? I have to check it out. Well, so this question comes up a lot, and I'm sure a lot of you listening and thinking about this. Well, open enrollment happens every year. Like, what's new about it, right? And the recommendations we're giving this year or given last year or the year before, do they still stand? So how do we think about this? Do we have any tips or suggestions, Jim?
Well, one of the questions that people sent in was, you gave me recommendations last year. What do I have to do this year? Do I have to come back and see you? Not particularly. Here's the two issues. Number one, have things changed with you or your family? Is the family grown? Is it shrinking? Is some things developed with family members that you might take a look at benefits differently? Or have your benefits changed? That means you have to go over that pamphlet of 20, 30, 40 pages and look through it carefully, because benefits that you thought looked very much the same may have some new terms and conditions, and you want to look at it. So it's a two-sided answer. Is your situation changed, and have the benefits changed? Barring that, probably don't need to contact us for an individual consult.
But if you do, we'll be here to answer your questions. That's all we have for today, Jim. We're out of time. We'll take more questions. So we're talking about this topic, writing on this topic all this month. So if there was something we didn't cover, let us know. We'll be happy to address it, but we'll see you next month and for another fun discussion. And thanks for tuning in. Jim, good talking to you.
Nice talking to you, Anna, and we'll see you next month live with MainStreet, where we'll be discussing end of year planning. Bye, everybody.
Sounds fun.